2 at 4.
The MTSU Director of Player Personnel for the University football team is under investigation this evening. Well, thank you for watching News 2 at 3. I'm Mark Kelly. Tragedy in Millersville this morning as a fire kills 2 children. News 2's Kinley Hargett takes us to the Clarksville neighborhood where the suspect's car has been found. Israel's defense minister says after defeating Hamas, the military does not plan to occupy Gaza. Talked to several of them throughout the day today. After this first expulsion vote, what are they telling you? How are they feeling? Where teachers and support staff, you can be hired directly at that fair. And then we're going to have a warm-up soon enough. I got Chief Meteorologist Danielle Breezy joining me right now. This has been quite a week, Danielle.
It has been, and unfortunately, it seems like the snow doesn't want to shut off in spots right now because we're dealing with some snow flurries.
In many parts of Tennessee, jumping in now for the search and for the rescue. News 2's Tori Gessner joining us in studio to explain more details on that story out of Clarksville. Tori. News 2's Corey Johnson reports Tennessee's climate is complicating this response. Dollars are being invested to help Metro Nashville Public Schools generate more magnet schools. Hundreds of thousands of crashes across Tennessee come to this one web page. It allows law enforcement to really see the problem areas. Now, if you sit for one of these courses, you could get a discount on your insurance. You don't have to sit for the written test. And of course, you're going to feel safer behind the wheel. And you're going to hear so much more about the victims and their lives and their story and what they meant to their friends and their loved ones and to this school community coming up all throughout our newscast this evening. As you can imagine, everyone has their own unique perspective on how something this horrific could happen, but one common thread among all those people I spoke with today is a feeling of total disgust. And Bob, you mentioned just a few minutes ago that substation. You could see that all lit up behind me tonight as work continues to repair that substation where we saw that explosion. Also behind me here in Madison is this church, and all you could see now is the facade of the church, the brick completely collapsed. This is the Sabbath Day Church of God in Christ. On Saturday night, its members were supposed to be in that church where they every Saturday share a service together, share a meal together, but on that specific night, they ended up going somewhere else for that meal, or else they would have been here in this building, which is now completely leveled. That is just one of the stories here in Madison. I also spoke with another woman earlier today in a home just down the street here on Campbell Road. She shared with me that her and her husband have lived in that home for 4 decades. She was there in that house with her grandchildren that day. They were able to get to the basement safely, but she was still upstairs, the second floor, in her bedroom when that tornado ripped through. She described it as one of the scariest things that she had ever seen. And a tree did, in fact, puncture a hole in her roof. And she said she's lost so many things on that second floor just from the rain damage alone. These are just a few of the stories that we have heard here in Madison on Campbell Road, one of the hardest hit areas. But of course, so many of these community members are out here now trying to figure out what's next, trying to figure out when that next church service is going to be. And also this afternoon, as we were here, emergency officials from the state going house by house, structure by structure, trying to assess what damage they have and what that rebuilding is going to look like. That's just a little glimmer of a couple of the stories here in Madison that we have felt all across our state from Saturday night's storm. Mark Kelly in Madison for News 2.
All of that up there to the top of the road is ours.
Taylor Benson and his family spent 8 months house hunting in Middle Tennessee. With a growing family, the pressure was on to settle down, and the interest rates going up weren't helping.
We put about 5 offers in on houses, and we actually got outbid, which was very, very frustrating.
Months into searching, the family's agent, Ethan Flynn, pitched trying a more unconventional idea. It's called an assumable mortgage. Essentially, you take over, assume, the seller's mortgage.
And you pick up their mortgage as if you were the one who took out the mortgage. So you just take over the payments, you take over the responsibility. They are completely relieved of any liability. And then it's as if you had that mortgage the entire time. If you're not a cash buyer, this is the only way I would buy in 2023.
And here's why this may be a wise financial move. You also take over the seller's interest rate. Going the traditional mortgage route, the Benson family was staring down a 5.8% rate. But on this house, the rate was a rock bottom 2.875%. Taking that rate over saves the family $800 a month on their payment.
Things are really expensive right now. Daycare is very expensive, so to have that extra income, or that money every month, it gave us a little bit more breathing room, a little bit more relief, knowing that we're not going to be feeling house poor or paycheck to paycheck kind of thing.
This is changing the wealth trajectory of the Benson family for the rest of their lives. It's very exciting. If you can't tell, I'm excited about it.
But that excitement came with some hard work. Many agents aren't too familiar with the assumption mortgage process, and servicers only make a few $100s off it. Plus, in the current market, there's not much incentive for sellers to play ball with an unfamiliar transaction. Still, Flynn says, it's worth finding an agent who knows the concept because these homes are out there. They're just hard to find. But new websites like homeunlock.com help you find assumable mortgages in your neighborhood. In fact, it's estimated about 2% of active listings with historically low rates from the pandemic years are assumable right now.
I mean, they're gems. They're gold. A huge swath of the mortgage market and a huge spectrum of homes have FHA loans on them that you can assume if you qualify as a buyer.
Remodeling in here, or is this all?
This has all been done this was all done in as is. I mean,
the Benson family is over the moon about their new home and not breaking the bank to buy it.
If you were to ever go buy another house, would you do this again?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, for now on, I will always look into if a home is assumable, if I'm ever looking at one in the future.
Mark Kelly, News 2.
This is a really important road for the heart of Donaldson here.
News 2 was interviewing Councilmember Jeff Syracuse in his Donaldson district when we caught this, a pedestrian walking just inches away from a busy road.
Oh no, there's no shoulder, especially, because of the existing stormwater gullies.
Look how close with the truck coming by right now.
Yeah, it's horrible.
That's what we're talking about. There's no sidewalk.
That's exactly right.
This is McGavick Pike, the same road where Italian tourist Matteo Baratieri was killed in a hit-and-run crash walking back to his hotel from a concert at the Grand Ole Opry late on an August night. We pull numbers from Metro Police. Out of the 49 pedestrian deaths in Nashville in 2022, 38 happened when it was dark outside.
When I heard about that this death occurred, it broke my heart. So of course, if that sidewalk was there, he would have made it home safe that night.
Syracuse gives the city's road safety a B- grade. That's why he's pushing Metro to build new sidewalks and protected bike lanes here along McGavick Pike. He admits the price tag could run in the millions and that every district is fighting for its own chunk of money.
We need to think outside the box because the one thing that is really keeping us from getting more pedestrian connectivity is the cost.
In the meantime, Syracuse proposes less expensive ideas. Take a look at this quasi-greenway built in Pennington Bend, where developers foot the bill. This will eventually extend to the Opry Mills connector and on to downtown Nashville. Syracuse calls it a win-win. Safer streets built at a lower cost.
If we can figure out where these alternative designs are that are less costly, that's where we really need to focus our efforts.
Out of the 49 pedestrians killed last year, Metro records show that only 6 happened during rainy weather, but more than half happened along the city's large corridors like McGavick Pike.
These traffic calming projects are really critically important.
Mark Kelly, News 2. In a tough business, safe to say songwriter Jamie Moore has made it.
My job is to make you dance, make you cry, to make you laugh.
The 4-time Grammy-nominated artist has written songs performed by Florida Georgia Line, Morgan Wallen, Carrie Underwood, to name a few.
The ones that are instant are special.
But Moore isn't resting on his laurels. He's working harder than ever, concerned that AI could one day take his job.
For what I do is, it's picking up on phrasing, it's picking up on rhythm and melodic sensibilities. It's really getting smart. Will any of us have a job in the next 2 years?
AI's here, and we have to find a balance.
Bart Herbison is executive director of the Nashville Songwriters Association International.
I think songwriters are smart and they understand it can be a useful tool, but I also don't think it's hyperbole to say they're freaking out over it. We've got to get some regulations put around this.
And that effort is underway. Herbison recently traveled to Washington, D.C. with songwriters to share their concerns with lawmakers. Progress is being made. Federal legislation called the No Fakes Act is in its early stages. If passed, it could give artists property rights over their name, image, likeness, and voice. In the Senate, Republican Marsha Blackburn and Democrat Chris Coons are behind the effort.
It's a smart approach because we need to find the areas where we can get consensus. We've got to start with something, and the No Fakes Act, both on the House and Senate side, seem to be very well received. So it gives us some tools to, tell you to take it down, and if not, we can sue you.
If we have rules, regulation, laws, and government concerning people, we have to have rules, laws, government, some type of guardrails set for AI, because it has none right now.
As the new world order between music and AI takes shape in the coming years, songwriters would like to see a focus on what they call the 4 Ps: permission, payment, proof, and penalty. AI must get permission to use a song, negotiate payment based on how AI uses the song, and AI must save the work in the cloud in case there are future disputes. And if any part of this negotiation breaks down, the 4th P comes in: penalties.
Those are our 4 principles. Right now, ChatGPT is using a songwriter's song to learn how to write songs like that songwriter. And what's the goal? To replace them. So there have to be protections around this.
For Moore, music is all he's ever wanted to do. And though he's leery of AI, he also knows the human condition is more complex than an algorithm.
Putting the human experience in song. And I don't know if a robot can feel or can cry or stir up emotion. It's a question mark. We know it can make music, but can it feel?
Mark Kelly, News 2.
And which one is your grandfather?
This one right here.
It was 1950, Etna, Tennessee, when Sergeant James Harold Lynch made this promise to his 4-year-old daughter.
This stupid war will be over in no time and I'll be home.
That girl, Patricia Lynch, would hold on to this moment the rest of her life.
With a final hug and kiss, he put me down, picked up his duffel bag, and walked to the dirt lane that led to the highway.
That was the last time little Patricia would see her dad.
And it was right at Christmas when I think he was captured. I know that it was a battle in Coonery. I know that they were just being hit bad.
Patricia's daughter, Carla Carpenter, never met her grandfather. She knew he was a medic in the Army and a prisoner of war, but her mother spent a lifetime looking for more details.
To me, it's the story of a little girl in search of her daddy. Daddy said he was going to be home for Christmas, and she was looking for him ever since, never stopped. She has talked to every person she could possibly find. If there was a name in the archives, she hunted them down, found their family, went to their houses, interviewed them.
After decades of connecting dots and writing articles about Lynch, Carla watched her mother's dogged determination lead to some answers. A sergeant who served alongside Lynch in the final days.
We used to sit around and talk about our families. He was very proud of his child and all of his family. It was sometime around the 1st of January, 51, and we got up that morning and he went down to the creek to get a canteen of water. When he came back, we all sat around and talked. And around the middle of the day, he leaned back and went to sleep, and he never woke up. He didn't suffer, and we gave him as good of a burial as we could in the surroundings. He said, I want you to know that I was very proud to know Harold, and I want you to know that I'm sorry he couldn't come back. He deserved more than he got out of life.
Lynch died of exposure and starvation while a prisoner of war at a mining camp. The answer his little girl spent decades looking for.
She needed that closure. Dad said he was going to be home. She never quit waiting. She needed that closure.
Last year, Patricia died at 75 years old. But the story of her dad, Sergeant James Lynch, his bravery and his sacrifice continues to be told.
And that was her biggest dream. She did not want him forgotten.
And so are you picking up the baton?
I think so. Like all of a sudden, it's like, I have a purpose. I have roots. I have a purpose.
Mark Kelly, News 2.